everybody. Welcome back to the Ortiz Outtakes. I'm Mela.
And I'm Carlos.
Today we have a fun one for you. We're going to be talking about tarot. Before we jump in, a little bit about this movie. Just like the overview that it says online, it says friends unwittingly unleash an unspeakable evil trapped within a cursed deck of tarot cards. One by one, they become face to face with fate, racing against death to escape the future foretold in their readings. And this comes from a duo directing group called Anna. The directors are named Anna Halberg and Spencer Cohen, and they've worked together on other projects before. This cast has some recognizable faces and some not too recognizable, at least to me. The two most recognizable people in this cast is Jacob Batalon, which is Ned from the Spider-Man movies, and then also an up-and-comer, Avantika, and she was in the Mean Girls musical movie. So we'll be probably seeing more of her and stuff too. Before we share our like ratings at the end of it, just give your dry rating 1 through 10 now.
Uh, just the rating.
Yeah, just a
Okay.
rating.
Um. Yeah, I would give it like a 7.5.
Yeah, I'll give it a 7 as well.
Okay. Oh, so you
And
do seven
then,
on 7.5.
yeah, yeah.
So the movie begins with six friends who are for some reason sitting outside around a fire pit, drinking and talking shit. While they seem to have rented a freaking mansion on Airbnb. This is revealed after they run out of beer and Ned and Grant go in to retrieve some more, only to discover that there's no more liquor. There are three girls and three guys, one of which is the biggest star of the bunch, none other than Ned from Spider Man, who is not even the main character. Anyway, so while Ned and Grant go inside the mansion, they are discussing Grant and Haley relationship and the fact that there's no liquor in a ridiculously small ass old refrigerator.
So, yes. And of course, the guy who is Ned, his name in the movie is Paxton, but once we know somebody as this character, that's who you are for the rest of your life.
He'll always be Ned.
Whoever rented this Airbnb mansion sucks ass. You would think that they would have picked up booze to party over the weekend. I mean, the second thing anyone does is pick up necessities for the rental before you decide to spend the night. Especially if it's like a group of
Word.
teenagers. You would think that that's like the first thing they think of. But anyway, they
Yeah.
all decide to search the house for liquor in a sitcom ish montage that happens. They're looking all throughout this mansion. And they soon stumble upon a door in true horror fashion that says private, keep out. And it has a padlock on it. Apparently, these college students mistake the clearly marked door as saying, "Hey, bust this lock on the door and come in." But what they find past this door is just old, dusty astrological items that's been collected and stored on the shelves. So naturally, they start going through things that they should not be going through.
So then Ned finds some old tarot cards in an old box. And it just so happens that Haley is an expert on reading tarot cards, horoscopes, and astrology. They manage to convince Haley to do their tarot reading, and then we go into another montage of them prepping the readings. They apparently decide that tarot reading is much better than vodka. Haley is apprehensive at first, but is easily convinced to do the readings because it's Elise's birthday. She then begins by flawlessly determining each card and reading like a boss. During the reading, Ned goes to the bathroom, and when he's done, he sees a door that is opening and closing on its own. This is the first clue to get the fuck out. Anyway, when he comes back to the group, he doesn't even mention it to the rest, only to submit to getting his own tarot reading. Haley proceeds to read everyone's tarot to include her own. So during the night, it is shown that there's like a malevolent spirit or presence is awoken. And then it cuts to the title frame.
Apparently, Haley, who's the main character, just knows she's like a professional tarot reader and she knows everything about like astrological tarot readings and just it's not just horoscope and it's not just uh it combines your astrology like horoscope stuff along with tarot readings, which most people do those things separately, but this one was a combined reading. So it was like a tarot reading that aligns with your horoscope. And then yeah, it cuts to the title frame, which I actually like it when movies do that because this is probably like 20 minutes into the movie and then the title frame comes out. So it's kind of like a cold open in a way. I like
Yeah.
that when they do that. And then so in the morning, they pack up and they begin driving back to campus. And they soon start to experience coincidences from the tarot readings. Elise, the birthday girl, is back at her dorm or her sorority house, and she's in the tub for some reason. And the dorm is absolutely empty. And she's talking on the phone with her girlfriend, Paige, and she hears something outside the door. And remember, her sorority house is supposed to be empty, like they all went out partying or something. And when she opens the door, she sees that there is this ladder that is leading up to the attic or crawl space, that it's down, it's open. She closes the attic and she resumes her convo. She hears something in the hallway again later when she's like in her room, and she looks and the ladder is back down. Again, she's the only one home. She calls out to see if anyone is around. Of course, in another true horror fashion, is like, very funny, guys. Stop messing with me. You know, like how that always
Yeah.
happens in horror films. So, yeah, she calls out to see if anybody is around. And when no one answers, she decides to go up the ladder to see what or who is up there, which if I was in a horror film, like the way that this horror film would be over in 10 minutes because I would have just went to sleep and took care of that in the morning. You think I'm gonna crawl up a ladder at night when nobody's supposed to be home?
For real.
So when she does do this, the lights flicker and then she has a vision of her tarot card that was pulled and a demonic looking entity, which is like this tarot deck we didn't mention, but this tarot deck had very scary art on it, and all of the characters are like really scary creatures and monsters and stuff. So she sees that drawing from her tarot card come to life. It's a demonic looking entity, and it scares her, and she falls off the ladder and hits her head, drops her phone. Of course, you can't call for help. This is a horror film. That is the rules. Your phone doesn't work. So waking up a few seconds later after being knocked out, only to see the entity's hands start to pull up the ladder. She tries to retrieve her phone, but the presence pulled her underneath the ladder. Then the entity drops the heavy ass ladder on her multiple times like the Mario Bros on Donkey Kong, thus killing her ass.
Yeah, that was Hey, so after some exposition with Haley and Paige, Lucas he walks Madeline home and starts walking, home himself. After he drops her off. So it's dark and the streets are totally empty. No, really, the streets are totally fucking empty. No cars, no dogs, no cats, you know. Anyway,
No wind, no noise.
yeah, I was like, oh, what the hell? So he started heading to the subway, where he finds himself eerily alone, walking down a long corridor. He encounters an entity standing in the dark, and then he decides to book it out of there quickly. He finds himself in an employee area, and decides to hide in one of the train cars, an empty train car that's parked there. And, a
Hmm.
couple of jump scares later, he falls off the train and gets splattered by a non-common train going light speed.
Dang. So there goes another one out of the friend group. And then
Yeah,
the
I
thing
mean,
that killed him, the thing that killed him was also something come to life from a card from his tarot reading.
yeah, yeah,
The group is in shambles. Obviously, two of their friends
yeah.
just died after they just spent a week. They all were just together. So, two police detectives met with this Scooby Doo gang, only to inform them that the deaths of their friends were not homicides. And that was the last damn time we saw the police in the story. They said, "Fuck them kids."
Damn,
And
that's
then,
true. I never
so
saw them jokers again.
No. After returning to the dorm, they all sat and discussed what was going on. So Ned accuses the group because he's a revealed a true crime fan, and he made the group listen to some true crime podcasts and stuff. So he's like thinking in a true crime mindset. He accuses the group of one of them being the murderer, like the movie Scream or some shit. They fussed for a few minutes when Haley had an epiphany. Why not check the internet for clues?
Damn.
Then they logged onto the internet, and with one guess, they got the exact info that they needed. The internet
Shit.
is still undefeated.
Word. Yeah, man.
When they called this number that they found online that related to what exactly they were going through, it went to voicemail. So, and again, I have to say it, it's not a horror film unless you decide to do something dumb. They decided to drive 3 hours to the old lady's address that they just found on the internet.
Oh shit. Hey, so after arriving at the address, and knocking on the door swung open and suddenly out came the crypt keeper, shocking every yeah she shocked everybody, right? And her name is actually Alma Astrin, just like on the internet said. Anyway, this was the exact lady that they were looking for, and she invited them in and told them the story about the tarot cards. It turns out that she is a survivor of many tarot readings that went wrong. Um, and in her scenario, she's the one that read everybody in her group's tarot, but she didn't read her own.
The Crypt Keeper told them the origin story about how in 1798 there was an astrologer that worked for a count and his wife doing readings. The Baroness was pregnant, and so the cards kept repeatedly reading death, no matter how many times the reading was performed. Needless to say, the Baron kicked both the astrologer and her kid to the curb. Sometime later, the Baroness and baby died during a complicated birth. The Baron then had the astrologer's child killed, and then the astrologer then cursed the cards by taking her own life and then took revenge on the Baron. So after learning this origin story of this cursed deck of cards, the Scooby Doo Gang left the Crypt Keeper's house.
And on the way back to the dorms, the streets are like COVID clean. I can't say that enough times. And the car breaks down in the middle of a bridge. And while in the car and trying to figure shit out, an entity wrote hangman symbol in the on the glass, in the fog on the glass, and the word run. So the girl that was sitting there, Madeline, she freaked the fuck out, opened the car door, and ran full speed on the empty bridge. She said, "Fuck them kids." Haley was the only one to try and catch her, but the girl was like going full fucking sprint. And when she stopped, a rope shot out from down from the raptors and went around her neck. Then, with decisiveness, pulled her up and snapped her neck. That shit was like Spider Man, but instead of No Way Home, it would be Spider Man Take Your Ass Home.
Literally. And then, mind you, her tarot reading talked about her running from a situation and it being bad. So then she fucking ran, even though they already discovered that the tarot readings were coming in life. Her ass still decided to just take off running. And so
Oh my god.
Ned gets to the dorms and no one is around. Not even the security on campus, nobody. And while entering his building, he notices a figure in the background following him. And it turns out it's damn fucking Pennywise. Look like Pennywise.
Oh shit.
And his tarot reading was just about him being a clown and being a jokester and stuff. And so Ned goes into the elevator. He's like frantically pressing buttons. The elevator's not working, but the clown starts messing with him until Ned shits his pants. Of and then that's the last thing that we see of Ned. So of the four remaining, three decide to go to the mansion and retrieve the cards to destroy. But Ned had went back to his dorm. Remember, he said, "Fuck that! I'm going back to my room."
They the other three, they got on the rental app. I guess there's an app to rent mansions or what have you, but they got on the rental app and it just so happened not to be booked. It was all clear. I guess there was no people in town. Right. But anyway, they get to the mansion and they try to burn the cards, the tarot cards, but the cards they didn't burn. So they tripped out and they said, you know what? We need the crypt keeper's help. You know? So when the crypt keeper showed up, that music came on, and then the door flies open and shit, and the crypt keeper come out. So anyway, it's decided that they got to do a seance. At least that's what the crypt keeper said. So during the seance, the witch shows up and snatches the crypt keeper backward into the dark like she owed back taxes or child support or some shit. So the friends jetted out down the corridor when they saw that shit. But the crypt keeper landed in front of them like with six swords in her back. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
swords. It wasn't like knives or nothing like that. It was swords. I know they looked at her and said, "Yo, thanks, thanks, Crypt Keeper. I thought you were supposed to help and shit." Hey, and by the way, where the fucking cops, bro?
I
Anyway,
know nowhere to be found.
yeah. Anyway, they got separated. As usual, what happens in these movies? They got separated, and the one girl that got separated, she went instead of looking like for a window or a door, she went to the basement. That's just kind of like what happens. Only to encounter, only to encounter a magician from hell. She tries to escape and jumps into a big trunk to hide. Genius, huh? So anyway,
Hmm.
it was like making a fucking sandwich and commanding the cheese to jump on the bread. Needless to say, needless to say, that sandwich got her ass cut in half.
Haley and the dude that was left barricade themselves in one of the rooms. And while talking about life and the color of the sky under the window of the room, the witch bursts through the window and throws the dude out of the window. Haley unbarricades herself and got the fuck out of there. The witch finally catches up with Haley, grabs her by the throat with one hand, and picks her up about a foot from the ground. So while being strangled, Haley starts to talk to the witch. And although she's being strangled, her voice is pretty normal. She's
Really?
not struggling. she's like
No.
she's not struggling. She told the witch that she had read the witch's cards. So she did a tarot reading on the witch. And that now she's the one that's cursed. So the witch seemed to have disintegrated and supposedly defeated. And Haley and Dude are, they defeated it. This is the end of the movie. Finally, they beat the evil entity that was killing all their friends, and they're walking down a road for help. But I can't help but wonder, like, that there was no cars there. Like, how'd they get there? Where's the Crypt Keeper's car? Where's Basement Girl's car? Anyways, oh well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, a car approaches them on the road, and boom, it's our boy Ned. He made
Oh shit! Damn.
it.
Yeah.
So, and that's the end of the movie. So we had three survivors, and yeah. So now, give me your reason for your 7.5 rating.
So my 7.5 rating was because, and I just want to say that it was because that the acting was not that bad. It was pretty decent acting, and although my focus during our review was like there was not a lot of people or what have you, they kind of did that, pretty well considering that that movie Abigail was pretty much the same thing. It was just those people. So
Yeah,
I think they pulled it off, but they could have shown less. You know what I'm saying? Of the empty streets. But but I think that although that was my main critique, as far as it being empty all the time, no police, no security, it almost, well, I won't go there yet, but that's kind of like, the acting was still pretty decent, although, it
yeah,
wasn't fucking Oscar worthiness, but it was pretty decent. That's why
yeah.
it's 7.5 for me.
For me, I gave it a 7. Basically, for the same reasons, but also there's just like some things that which we pointed out that were missing. So like with the police not showing up or like showing interest, I feel like another element of like pressure that the group would have is that the police does think it's somebody in the group killing people. You know what I'm saying? Because it's
Yeah,
like a group
yeah,
of friends, they're going missing one by one. Like, you start looking into the boyfriend, or like, you start looking for motives. And like, maybe
hmm
somebody could have been arrested on being a suspect or something, That was a missing element that could have been like even more pressure to figure out what's going on. Instead, they just like flawlessly find the exact lady who knows about these tarot cards on the internet to help them.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that always happens too, in scary movies, but I feel like that was missing. And then um I also feel like something that I probably would have did if I was making it, I would have also led the audience into thinking it could have been one of them, you know? So
yeah,
like keeping us guessing. But so I will say one thing that I did enjoy about this movie is something, it just reminded me of um Final Destination 3. And
yeah,
if you guys remember, Final Destination 3 is the one where like the girl dies in the tanning booth, and then you know somebody dies from driving behind a semi truck with stuff in it that falls through their windshield and stuff like that. And so in Final Destination 3, they discovered that in these photographs of everybody that they took, it was showing how these people were going to die. So in Tarot, they kind of figured how everybody was going to die based on the cards. So they were able to kind of like, figure things out and approach a situation by like knowing that things were already like, it was like premonition uh, of their death already. So I did like that element. I thought that was really cool. And but yeah, I feel like they should have just added in a little bit of more points of pressure around like the killings, because you don't have three people die from a friend group and just like think that it's just homicides, or that it's not homicides.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So my main grade is the 7.5 for the acting, not for the story. You know what I'm saying? Um, because that a lot of that stuff that we kind of pointed out during, our review, those were glaring things. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, all the things that we pointed out, there was like in your face. They didn't make no effort to kind of like smooth that piece out.
Yeah,
Um,
like it was true Scooby Doo gang figuring it out on their
yeah,
own. But I feel like they probably would have had to not be able to go home because people are looking for them, or like, it would have been a bigger deal, especially on a college campus, that three college students are dead.
yeah. And they say, well, yeah, I don't know. Her face got smashed several times, with a ladder. She might have done that on her by herself. There's no
Yeah.
suspicion of how the fuck you gonna kill yourself with a fucking ladder. And then
Yeah.
the
Oh,
cops are
no.
gonna come and say, "Yo, that's no, it doesn't seem like homicide to me." Well,
Yeah,
what
they're
else
like,
could have it been?
this is not suspicious at all.
Not at all. She just fell off the ladder, and she just probably picked up the ladder and put herself out of her misery.
Yeah. So like I
Yeah,
was I was waiting on that element. So like whenever like Ned's character brought up like, oh well, maybe it's one of us or whatever,
yeah,
I was just like, ooh, that would be, something exciting. Like like as viewers we're seeing it as a tarot cards like
yeah,
killer, but really it's like the the boyfriend, because Haley and her boyfriend have broken up. So there was a motive right there. He could have been killing everybody.
yeah, yeah. I mean, they could have went different ways with it if you say, if you think about it. But the other thing was like when the guys when they say, "Hey," to Ned, "What's the password on your computer?" And he said, "Oh, it's password." These are college kids, man.
Well, you would think he would have a better password than that.
Yeah, his password. And then the first click it was like when they looked on Google or whatever. The first click was the lady.
I know. They're like lady,
uh,
like professional evil tarot card lady.
yeah, the first
Like
choice, man.
they're like, this must be her. And then I just don't understand going to go drive 3 hours to go visit somebody. Like
In the
I
middle of the
I
night.
yeah, in the middle of the night. Like what? I mean, we're in Texas. Like you be worried about somebody shooting you.
Yeah,
Don't come
yeah.
knocking at my door talking about, oh, all my friends are dying. Hell
Yeah,
no, get out of here.
I'd be like, yo, you want to be the next one, motherfucker?
I know, and she's old. She was sleeping peacefully. But yeah, I mean, overall, it was fun, and it wasn't a bad movie. So
Yeah, it
it was
wasn't a bad
it was a
movie.
fun movie, and I don't think a lot of people actually saw it. So if you get a chance, if it goes on streaming or anything like that, go. I mean, now if you listen to this, you know everything that happened, but you can still watch it with your friends.
Yeah, no, it's still a worthwhile movie to watch at the house. You know what I'm saying? You
Yeah,
know,
because we told you pretty much the whole movie, but you got to see the monsters.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, they pretty. Like I said, they pretty much do a good job on the story and the effects. We didn't talk about the effects. The effects were pretty good. Um,
Yeah.
but a lot of the times, maybe a little like when that guy got splattered by by the train, and it was like an explosion and shit, like a balloon or something
I
of
know. What's
blood.
up with these movies lately that people just explode?
I watched the movie like 3 times just to kind of.
Dang.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, just to kind of like look, because once you see it twice, you start noticing different things. And that's why I picked out so many on the movie. But other than that, the movie was fine. It had a decent a story that people could follow. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes
Yeah.
it wasn't too complicated.
Yeah, it wasn't confusing at all. That's why it's just like a fun horror film to watch and a good one with like a group of friends, you know? A group of
Yeah,
like college age kids. I feel like those are that it just reminds me of like just classic horror films. But yeah, so that's it for this episode on tarot. Make sure that you subscribe and like and turn on your notifications for our channel. So that way we can do fun stuff like go to Comic Con and get more and to help fund our comic book addiction.
yeah, yeah. All right, folks. Remember to like, subscribe, share, and we'll see you very soon on our next podcast.
All right, peace. You know we need
Oh,
the fireworks.
yeah.